Hey everyone, this is 6-Path Weeb, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we're diving into the next chapter of our fanfic series with What If Konoha Failed Naruko? Part 3. Quick disclaimer, all content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used, full credit goes to the original creators and copyright holders. Alright, let's jump right in. Naruko's eyes sparkled with determination as she faced the two mysterious figures from the Akatsuki. She had two reasons to be upset. First, they were planning to take Gaara away from his home, separating him from his friends and family. That alone would have been enough to make her frustrated. But the bigger reason tugging at her heart was that they would be taking him away from the people who loved him, his siblings, his family, and the children who adored him. She couldn't let that happen, not when she knew what it felt like to be alone. Funryu Tejin, jet step, Naruko whispered, feeling the wind dance beneath her feet as she zipped forward, landing in front of Deidara before he could react. With a swift kick of air-enhanced energy, she sent him tumbling backward into a soft patch of trees. Fast! Sasori thought as Naruko spun gracefully toward him. She unleashed another gust of wind with a flip of her leg, but Sasori leapt aside, barely missing her attack. All Naruko had done was make a small crater in the ground. With a clever jump, she landed lightly on Sasori's puppet tail and vaulted backward toward the clay owl perched nearby. Sasori's eyes widened as Naruko aimed for the owl. She had seen him using it to carry something precious. With a quick, precise motion, she sliced the owl's head off, causing the cargo to gently float to the ground instead of being lost. Naruko drew a small drop of her own blood, tracing it across the summoning seal on her bracer. Kushios no Jutsu. In a puff of smoke, a bright red fox with golden stripes named Doro appeared. Dorosan. Take Gaara back to the village safely, Naruko commanded. Understood, Naruko-sama, Doro said warmly, wrapping the unconscious Gaara carefully in her fluffy tail before dashing toward Sunagakure. Sasori lifted a gauntlet with small cylinders, preparing to launch them at Doro. I'll stop her before she gets away, he thought. But just in time, Naruko leapt in front of the fox, her body shimmering as it split into multiple shadowy forms. Shadow clone. Sasori murmured in surprise. But Naruko was already spinning through the air, holding a spiraling ball of pure chakra. Rasengan, she shouted, directing the swirling energy toward the puppet in a dazzling display of skill. The puppet's pieces scattered harmlessly across the soft ground, revealing the real Sasori hidden beneath his clever disguise. I see it now, Naruko said, standing confidently as she studied him. You made an armor-type puppet to protect yourself from close-range challenges. Clever, but I'm ready. Sasori removed his cloak, revealing his youthful face and red hair. I am honored that the Kodama fox sees my skill, he said, smiling slightly. Your abilities and courage make you a worthy opponent. Naruko tilted her head, thinking. He seems younger than I expected. But that doesn't matter. I'll protect Gaara no matter what. On a white clay bird behind her, Deidara hovered, long hair shining in the sunlight. He opened his hand, ready to release another of his tiny clay creations, but Naruko kept her focus steady. Deidara, stay back. Gaara is safe now, Sasori warned. Not a chance, Deidara replied, releasing two small clay birds into the air. But Naruko was already ready. With a wave of her hand, her clones and Doro worked together to guide the little birds safely away, turning what could have been trouble into harmless play. Naruko paused to observe the puppet Sasori had summoned. It resembled someone important she had seen in Sunagakure before, a kind and strong leader who had protected many. The Sandaime Kazekage. This puppet was once someone special, she murmured. I see that you understand, Sasori said softly, a faint amusement in his voice. You are wise beyond your years. Naruko smiled gently. Yes, and I'll use that wisdom to protect my friends and help everyone stay safe. With a nod, the two young ninjas prepared for the next part of their adventure, but for now, Gaara was safe, Doro was happy, and Naruko's heart was full of courage and hope. Naruko steadied herself just as a small clay bird appeared beside her. She leapt gracefully away as the little bird popped with a harmless puff of smoke and spun towards Deidara, sending two shadowy copies of herself to distract Sasori and his puppet. Naruko landed lightly on a sturdy branch, watching carefully as Deidara sent a second clay bird drifting through the air. Instead of running away, Naruko grinned. With a twirl in midair, she tapped into her wind chakra and gave herself a gentle lift. The clay bird split harmlessly in two with a spark of light as Naruko danced in the air, avoiding any danger. Deidara blinked in surprise. I might be clever with clay, but she. She's flying? He muttered, unable to keep up with her nimble movements. Naruko whispered to herself, Tsukai. Skywalk. She felt her feet brush the wind, carrying her higher and closer to Datara. With a flick of her wrist, a tiny spark of energy shot forward, startling the clay bird and sending it tumbling away in harmless bursts of smoke. Satisfied, Naruko turned her attention to Sasori and the Sandaime Kazekage puppet. Her shadow clones had already been swirled away by the puppet's magical arms, but Naruko wasn't worried. If Chio-buchan was right, this puppet can use iron sand tricks, she murmured, eyes glinting with curiosity. I'll have to get close to figure it out. The QB inside her purred with confidence. Don't worry, Naruko. I'll protect you. With a joyful shout, Naruko added more wind chakra to her feet. Funryu Tejin, jet step. She called, and she soared toward the puppet with graceful speed. Sasori reacted quickly, moving his puppet's arms in a flurry. I'll show you the art of puppetry, he declared. Thousands of tiny, magical arms shot out toward Naruko. Naruko laughed as she stopped midair and spun her hands in quick patterns, sending beams of shimmering light at the approaching arms. The beams glimmered and danced, scattering the tiny arms in every direction, turning what could have been a thread into a sparkling spectacle of color. Sasori's puppet tried a new tactic, sending hundreds of tiny iron sand bullets in her direction. But Naruko was clever, she flicked a chakra chain from her back, using it to spin herself away from the flying sand. The sand bullets tumbled harmlessly around her like twinkling stars. Sasori's eyes widened as Naruko twirled her red-bladed sword, Sekirei. The sword glowed warmly, extending and curving as if it had a mind of its own. With a playful laugh, she guided it through the floating iron blocks, splitting them into harmless shards of sparkling light. What? Sasori whispered, unable to believe his eyes. Naruko's blade shimmered back into her hand, perfectly normal again. Sekirei isn't just a sword, Naruko said with a wink. It's magic and friendship all in one. It listens to me, and I can share my energy with it to make fun patterns, or even protect myself. The puppet lunged toward her, its arms swinging in a scissor-like motion. Naruko twirled nimbly, planting Sekirei in the ground with a soft thump. Light swirled around her hands as she merged her black and white chakra together, forming a sparkling spear of energy that pointed toward the puppet, not to harm, but to guide it into a safe, magical trap of her creation. Sasori blinked in amazement. Naruko giggled, feeling the wind in her hair and the joy of playful challenge. This was not a fight of anger or danger, it was a dance of skill, magic, and imagination, and Naruko was having the time of her life. Hasaki, Juso, blade edge, dual spear, Naruko shouted, her hands clasped together as a sparkling beam of golden energy shot forward. When it touched the puppet, instead of harm, a dazzling burst of light enveloped it, and with a soft pop, the puppet gently scattered into tiny, harmless floating fragments that glittered like confetti. The puppeteer, Sasori, blinked in surprise, clearly not expecting such a creative trick. Before he could react, Naruko leapt gracefully beside him, her left hand glowing with swirling wind magic. Kugan, Air Force. She called, and a gentle gust lifted Sasori into the air, not to hurt him, but like a mischievous breeze teasing a balloon, causing him to twirl in surprise. Time to finish this, Naruko whispered to herself, her eyes sparkling with determination as she retrieved her magical staff, Sekirei, shimmering with rainbow light. She floated forward toward Sasori, her energy bright and playful, ready to end the challenge with cleverness rather than cruelty. Sasori suddenly raised his right arm, revealing a pipe that puffed harmless sparks. A stream of fiery light shot out, but Naruko quickly raised her shimmering wind barrier, and the sparks fizzled against it. Only the hem of her coat caught a tiny singe, leaving a faint sparkle trail behind her. Well, that was unexpected. She muttered, brushing off the tiny glitter marks on her coat and giggling at how dramatic it looked. I admit, you're far more inventive than I expected, Sasori said, stepping back. His cloak fell away, revealing a clever array of magical gadgets, spinning poles, glittering scrolls, and glowing symbols etched like ancient runes. I haven't seen someone so creative since the Sandaime Kazekage's Festival of Illusions. Even your light trick dazzled me. Naruko tilted her head, grinning. I guess I've learned a few things in my travels. Imagination is my best weapon. Sasori chuckled and waved both arms, streams of harmless fire-colored ribbons bursting forth. Then let's see how well your imagination holds up. Quick as a breeze, Naruko leapt into the air with Funryu Tejin, jet step, and glided gracefully along with Tsukai, skywalk, walking on air as the ribbon flames danced around her. She smiled, plotting a clever new plan. Suiton, Suijin Heki, water release, water wall. She chanted, and a sparkling curtain of water rose between her and the dancing ribbons, reflecting rainbow light like a crystal prism. Then, with a flick of her fingers, she created a shadow clone. This clone twirled around the water wall and bounced toward Sasori, holding a glowing sun-shaped shuriken, not dangerous, but radiating dazzling light like a magical disco star. Sasori focused on the clone, swatting at it, but the clone giggled and vanished in a puff of harmless sparkles, leaving behind glittering confetti that rained gently on him. Another clone, carrying an even brighter golden shuriken, floated toward him. The dazzling disc spun like a miniature sun, catching Sasori off guard and lightly tapping his arm with a harmless spark that made him step back in surprise. The disc continued upward, scattering soft light over the trees and ground like a gentle sunbeam. The sound of rushing footsteps caught Sasori's attention. Naruko, the original, bounced lightly toward him, her staff twirling in her hands. With a graceful sweep, she used Sekirei to create a soft whirlwind, scattering rainbow petals in a wide arc. The spinning blades attached to Sasori's gadgets glimmered, deflecting the petals harmlessly, but the display of light, wind, and magic left him laughing, completely charmed. Impressive, Sasori admitted, floating lightly on his gadget poles. I haven't met anyone with such creative energy in a long time. Naruko laughed, twirling in the air. And I haven't had so much fun turning a challenge into a rainbow parade. Together, they danced among glittering sparks, magical petals, and floating ribbons. The battlefield transformed into a luminous playground where cleverness and imagination were the true champions. Taking Naruko's momentary distraction, Sasori spun gracefully, sending the propeller on his right side toward her. But instead of hitting Naruko, she seemed to vanish from the spot and reappeared several feet away. Sticking out of the ground beside her left leg was one of Sasori's double-edged ninjato. Neither of them showed signs of tiredness. Sasori was a puppet, after all, and Naruko seemed to have endless energy. But with one arm missing, Sasori knew he was at a disadvantage against the clever and determined Uzumaki. And with her clever use of clones and her space-time ninjutsu, Naruko could outmaneuver him in many ways. I guess I'll have to fight her with numbers if I want to keep up. Sasori thought, summoning chakra strings from his right hand to grab one of the scrolls on his back. Akahigi, Hyaki no Soen, Red Secret Technique, Performance of 100 Puppets. He muttered, unraveling the scroll. Dozens of puppets in red cloaks, each armed with tiny weapons, sprang to life. Sasori activated thousands of chakra strings, connecting them to the puppets and keeping them suspended mid-air. The last time I used this trick, it was to take control of a small nation. The puppeteer whispered to himself, a strange mix of pride and reluctance in his voice. He raised his head and glared at Naruko. Using this on just one person. It feels unnecessary. Half of the puppets lunged forward, aiming straight for Naruko. She grinned and focused, forming a round, gray sphere around herself. On my Otan, Hyro Kabekyu no Jutsu, Yin-Yang Release, Gray Wall Sphere Technique, she shouted. The sphere shimmered softly, and when the first wave of puppets hit, they bounced back, colliding with their companions behind them. Seeing an opening, Naruko deactivated the barrier and dashed forward, dodging and tumbling through the remaining puppets with agility and precision. Sasori tried to trap her with a pincer move, surrounding her completely. But Naruko's cleverness shone again as dozens of golden chains shot from her back, wrapping around multiple puppets and sending them tumbling. The chains retracted, and she activated her bracer, letting a blade of glowing chakra extend from it. With precision, she aimed for Sasori's vulnerable chest compartment. The puppeteer tried to evade, but another of her clones, moving underground, had him pinned by the legs. Now, Naruko. She called, and her chakra blade pressed firmly against Sasori's chest. Within moments, his string slackened and his body went still. The fight was over. Naruko carefully retracted her blade and collected Sasori's puppets and scrolls. Inside her seal, Kurama snorted. That didn't even take long. You didn't even use my chakra, he grumbled. I didn't need to. I saved that surprise for later, Naruko said cheerfully, sealing away the Sekirei. Fair enough. Kurama replied, still a little annoyed. Naruko glanced at Sasori's body. Before heading home, I want to make sure Doro got Gaara back safely. And maybe collect the bounty on Sasori's head. Chio-buchan deserves to know the truth about her grandson. Kankuro might even be able to use this puppet now. She lifted the body carefully and teleported to Suna with Mikado. Meanwhile, Zetsu rose slowly from the ground, inspecting the aftermath. That was quite a battle, White Zetsu said to his black counterpart. Yeah. She didn't even look tired. Sasori was way out of his depth, Black Zetsu replied, picking up Sasori's severed arm to retrieve the ring. Back in Konoha, at the Onbu training ground, several teams gathered with their instructors. Only Kurenai was absent, staying home to care for her child with Asuma. Okay, I assume everyone knows why we're here, Jiraiya said, holding up a copy of the latest bingo book. Our mission is to locate Naruko, former Jinan and current Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Until we know where she is, we'll focus on teamwork and practice techniques to counter anything she might do. A bingo book? Sakura asked, curious about the unusual notebook. Yes. It lists the strongest ninja and their abilities, Jiraiya explained. It's important we're prepared. Naruko is clever, strong, and fast. She's unpredictable, but that's what makes her such an incredible shinobi. The shinobi nodded, determined to learn from her brilliance rather than face her unprepared. Wait, don't tell me she's in it, Kiba exclaimed, his ears perking up. The idea that Naruko might be in this book of legendary shinobi seemed almost too ridiculous to be true. He'd heard stories from Sasuke and Sakura, but this was different. It pricked at his pride, too. How could Naruko, who sometimes tripped over her own feet, be considered legendary? I'm serious. Naruko has done incredible things over the past 6 years, Jiraiya said, his eyes twinkling with amusement. But she's been keeping her real identity a secret. That's why she's listed under the name Kodama, the fox spirit. Her page is bookmarked in this very book. He tossed the book to Shikamaru, who caught it with a lazy but precise motion. The younger ninjas gathered around, flipping to the marked page. Their eyes widened as they read the words aloud, one after another. Name, Kodama, fox spirit, real name unknown, age, unknown, estimated 19 to 21. Gender, female. Origin, unknown. Shinobi rank, wandering nin. Caliber rank, S. Known alias, Kodama, fox spirit, and Akiro Senko, Red Flash clan affiliation, possibly Uzumaki clan. Known elements, wind, fire, water, lightning, and a fifth mysterious element. Skills. Taijutsu, 5. Ninjutsu, 5. Genjutsu, 1. Intelligence, 4.5. Strength, 4.5. Speed, 5. Stamina, 5. Hand seals, 4.5. Weapons, 2 double-edged ninjato swords and a unique red metal katana with a round black guard, black handle, and red diamond patterns. Physical description, stands 5 feet 5 inches with short red spiky hair, tan skin, usually wears a black hooded cloak with red stripes and a large red whirlpool on the back, and a red fox mask with blue markings. Special abilities, exceptional in ninjutsu, fuinjutsu, and kenjutsu, can create multiple shadow clones and manipulate chakra shapes, capable of space-time ninjutsu. Additional info, known to help villages in times of trouble and loved by many for her cleverness, bravery, and generosity. Holy! Wow, Sasuke whispered, echoing the astonishment of the others. And she's helped several villages and countries over the years, Hoshigakur, Bird Country, Vegetable Country, Demon Country, and Moon Country, Asuma explained. Her cleverness and courage have earned her great respect, though some in the underworld are jealous of her fame. Kiba frowned. Come on, Shino. You make it sound like she wouldn't want to come back to Konoha? Shino adjusted his glasses, calm as always. After all that she's been through here as a child, I doubt she'd want to return. It's not just her skills that have grown, it's her life experience. She's someone who values freedom and adventure. Our attempts to bring her back would need to be thoughtful, careful, and respectful of her choices. Jiraiya nodded. Exactly. And that's why we need to consider her carefully. There are many groups who admire her, and others who might challenge her. But Naruko is clever, resourceful, and kind. She handles challenges in ways most of us can only dream of. Neji spoke up. So bringing her back isn't just about having her here, it's also about keeping the balance between villages. A hero like her inspires hope, and that's something we all need. Tenten crossed her arms. I guess that makes sense. She's more than just strong, she's a symbol of cleverness and courage for everyone. The group fell silent for a moment, each imagining Naruko traveling far and wide, helping people, solving problems, and quietly becoming a legend. It was clear, she wasn't just a hero, they were witnessing history in the making. And remember, Jiraiya said with a smile, the day we meet her, we should be ready, not just for her power, but for the amazing person she's become. Pretty much, Jiraiya said thoughtfully. He noticed the puzzled and slightly worried expressions on the younger shinobi's faces. I know this isn't easy for anyone, especially for Naruko, but in the long run, it's for her safety. Tsunade Hime already has a way of keeping her protected from anyone who might try to use her abilities in the wrong way. This plan will remain secret, only known to everyone here, the retrieval team, Tsunade Hime, and the Shinobi Council. Anyone who breaks this trust, well, let's just say there will be consequences. Everyone nodded quietly in understanding. Then Sakura, always curious, decided to change the subject. Jiraiya-sama, the scroll mentioned that Naruko has a fifth, unknown elemental nature. Do you know what it could be? She asked. Jiraiya exchanged a meaningful glance with Kakashi, something that didn't go unnoticed by the others. I think this is something Tsunade Hime should explain, but since she isn't here. That's why I came. Tsunade's voice rang out suddenly, and in the next moment, she appeared in the field beside her former teammate. The younger shinobi blinked in surprise at her sudden arrival. I felt I should come, seeing as this concerns family, she explained. Family? Ino asked, tilting her head in curiosity. Tsunade let out a small sigh. Who here has heard of the Uzumaki clan? She asked. The younger shinobi exchanged surprised looks. Uzumaki clan? Are you saying Naruko is part of a clan? Choji asked, wide-eyed. They must not have been important if they weren't mentioned in the academy, Kiba commented, only to flinch when Tsunade shot him a stern glare. For your information, Kiba, my grandmother, wife of the Shodaime Hokage, was an Uzumaki. Making me a quarter Uzumaki, she declared, clearly offended. And let me warn you, the next person to say something unkind about them will regret it. Silence fell immediately. Now, as for why the clan wasn't mentioned in the academy, Tsunade continued, muttering softly about troublesome elders, that will be explained another time. The Uzumaki clan was related to the Senju clan, and in a distant way to the Uchiha clan. They lived on a now abandoned island called the Land of Whirlpools, in a village named Uzoshio. They were known for their long lives, incredible stamina, and their skill in chakra control. Their village was scattered long ago, but one thing they were famous for was their red hair. Ah, that explains why Naruko's hair is red. She must have done it to honor her clan. And those solid chakra chains she uses, Sasuke remarked, intrigued. But what does this have to do with her fifth element? I'm getting there, Tsunade said, smiling softly. Among the Uzumaki was a member named Sadahiko. He lived during my grandmother's time and was said to be more talented in chakra than anyone else we know, even more than the great shinobi of old combined. Gasps filled the group. These were names they had heard of in history, shapes of legends. To think someone might surpass them all. It was both incredible and awe-inspiring. Tsunade seemed to read their expressions. I know it sounds unbelievable, but it's true. Sadahiko was my grandmother's older brother, making him another granduncle of mine. And just like my grandfather, Sadahiko was born with a unique elemental ability, something called Onmyotan. Onmyotan? Lee asked, leaning forward, curious. It's a special chakra nature, Jiraiya explained. It's different from normal elements. Most clan techniques actually use it in some way, like the Nara or Akimichi techniques. I have a feeling this is more than just normal Onmyotan, Shikamaru said thoughtfully. There is a difference, Jiraiya confirmed. Sadahiko's Onmyotan was unlimited. Truly limitless. Limitless? What does that mean? Hinata asked softly. Imagine the Nara clan's shadow techniques, Jiraiya said. Even though they use Onmyotan, they're limited to shadow forms. But Sadahiko. He could create anything from nothing. Structures, energy, tools, even combining elements like fire and lightning in ways no one else could. His imagination and chakra were one and the same. The shinobi stared in awe, imagining the endless possibilities. And somewhere in the group, Naruko's eyes sparkled with curiosity, dreaming of all the wonderful things she might be able to do one day. I even heard from Mito Abasama that Sadahiko could create her own unique Bunshine clone, using Onmyotan chakra. It was much stronger than normal shadow clones since it wouldn't vanish upon impact and almost seemed like a living being, Tsunade explained. The group of listeners went silent, their eyes wide. They couldn't believe such a thing existed. Something like that was beyond human ability, it almost seemed divine. And Naruko, of all people, having that power combined with her clan's chakra and the experiences she had gathered over the years, was indeed a formidable force. I just have one question, Sasuke spoke, breaking the silence. How does Naruko possess the bloodline? I understand that they are from the same clan, but that doesn't automatically mean she would inherit the Onmyotan bloodline. The ability to form solid chakra structures, yes, but not Onmyotan itself. The reason is simple, Tsunade replied. Though Sadahiko was my granduncle from my grandmother's side, he is Naruko's great-grandfather from her mother's side. Shock rippled through the group again. Everyone gasped, though Kakashi only seemed mildly surprised, more by the connection to Sadahiko than by the family revelation itself. Wait, Naruko's mom was an Uzumaki? What was she doing here in Konoha? Tenten asked, curious. Tsunade and Jiraiya exchanged a glance, a silent conversation passing between them. After a moment, Tsunade spoke again. What I'm about to share is a secret even bigger than Naruko's Jinchuriki status, though, that wasn't exactly a secret anyway. This must not be told to anyone else under any circumstances. But depending on the outcome of this mission, I may reveal it in time. So listen closely. Unnoticed by the group, two small black dots peeked from behind a rock, watching before vanishing completely. Land of Sound, Orochimaru's hideout. So, the Kyuubi child still lives, eh? Hissed the snake Sanin Orochimaru, speaking to his right-hand man, Kabuto Yakashi. Orochimaru had suspected Naruko's existence for a while, though it was only a few weeks ago that he confirmed the wandering ninja she was disguised as was actually the banished Konoha Jinan. I admit, I was surprised myself, Kabuto said, adjusting his glasses. But there is no mistake, the photo matches her perfectly, aside from hair color. It is certainly Naruko. He smirked, impressed. It's shocking how far she has come from the weakest in her class 6 years ago. Indeed, Orochimaru murmured. She even survived encounters with someone like Kakashi unscathed. And recent reports say she saved the god Im Kazekage from danger. Not an easy task for anyone. He paused thoughtfully. But what really intrigues me is her Onmyotan bloodline. Combined with her clan's longevity and her ability to shape chakra, she could be the perfect new body. Kabuto teased, given up on Sasuke-kun, Orochimaru-sama? Orochimaru chuckled. Not at all. The Sharingan still interests me. But I was always fascinated by Sadahiko Uzumaki's elemental bloodline, Onmyotan, the power to create anything from nothing. Few have achieved that, except perhaps the Rikadu Sennin. I hadn't realized Naruko was connected to Sadahiko, or I would have focused on her sooner. If I could combine her bloodline with the Sharingan, the possibilities are endless. Endless possibilities? Kabuto asked. Do you mean awakening the Rinnegan? Not quite, Orochimaru replied. The sage had 3 sons. The eldest inherited his eyes and spiritual energy, the middle his body and life force, and the youngest his blood, mental energy and enhanced instincts. The youngest founded the Uzumaki clan. To awaken the Rinnegan fully, you need all 3 lineages. Kabuto nodded slowly, understanding. So Naruko, with her bloodline, is key to what you desire. Perhaps, Orochimaru replied thoughtfully. But with her being the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, she is difficult to capture. Still, if we plan carefully. Spring Country, Daimyo's Palace. So, did everything go well? Koyuki asked, glancing at Naruko, who had recently changed into more formal attire. They were in a quiet lounge, with only Koyuki's guards and little Kiko playing nearby. Pretty much, Naruko said, handing Kiko a block she had dropped. There was a lot of damage to the village, but it could have been worse without Gaara's help. And Kazekage Dono? Koyuki asked. He woke up by the time I arrived, Naruko said, smiling gently. His family swarmed him, but Tamari and Matsuri were the only ones scolding him. Kankuro just watched, while Gakuto-chan and Kana-chan clung to him, not letting go. Uncle Gaara hurt? Kiko asked, worry in her tiny voice. No, he's fine, Naruko reassured her, ruffling the little girl's red hair. But we can make him a get-well card to make him feel better. Kiko's face lit up with a grin. Koyuki's eyes softened. You're leaving? Naruko nodded gently. Yes. It's not safe to stay in one place. Konoha and Akatsuki both know about me now. After bedtime routines, Kiko fell asleep clutching her fox toy, a small smile on her face. Naruko watched her lovingly, leaning down to kiss her forehead before leaving the room. Later, Naruko took out an old poem book she had kept safely in a scroll. Its title read Loveless, and she read quietly by candlelight, a warm smile spreading across her face. Prologue. When the war of the beasts brings about the world's end. The goddess descends from the sky. Wings of light and dark spread afar. She guides us. Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world. Thank you. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.